Welcome to Demolition Success Secrets, the podcast that's changing the game for demolition businesses everywhere. Ever wondered how a wrecking ball wielding industry can leverage digital marketing to dominate their market? Well, we've got the blueprints, strategies, expert guests, and more to show you how. Stay tuned, because we're about to blast through the barriers of your business.
Here we go, gang. We have another episode of Demolition Success Secrets, and I think this one's going to be really, really fun, really exciting. So welcome to the show, my friend. How are you doing?
Not too bad. How are you doing today?
Doing good. We kind of have a Snapchat famous cat on the podcast today.
Well,
maybe our first ever Snapchat famous to some extent.
It's a really weird thing to be having people watch, you know, as far as we create content on every other platform, and it seems like Snapchat is just way up here and everything else is kind of down here. It's kind of weird. It's most people, it's the other way around. Nobody could care less about their Snapchat, but their TikTok or their Facebook's really big. So I don't even really know how we got there, but yeah, we pushed a lot of followers to there over the last couple of years.
That's awesome. Well, how did you get here? Tell us about where you started and what you do.
Okay, how far back do you want to go?
How far back do you want to take us?
Okay. Well, here I'm from Iowa. I was adopted from India. I'm one of 7 kids adopted. So mom and dad are always kind of busy. And I kind of just started doing entrepreneurial stuff from a young age. I mean, whether it was building river tables in the wood shop or whatever, to flipping classic cars in high school. Then about sophomore year, I figured out, you know, there's a lot of money out there to be made. And I started building decks and, buildings, little sheds and stuff. And money started coming in. Then I realized the dirt guys were making half as much as I was building the whole building. They did it in a day. They come in, build a building pad, or they drill the holes for the deck or whatever. And I was like, that's interesting. So then I end up buying a little Deere 250 skid loader, $1,000 pickup, $1,000 trailer, and then they were all junk. That skid loader was all right, but everything else was junk. And we started with that. And so then, we started getting little demo projects and random one-off jobs to do. Just, pull fence out, demo this little shed, haul off this scrap metal. And then I kind of grew that into some more dirt work. And then we really got into tree clearing, do a lot of that, and demos. It was pretty much tree clearing and demos all we did for a year or so. I bought a dump truck, an old DOT International dump truck. Thing was a pile of garbage. The tag trailer, I had like a mini hoe and a track skid loader I just got. And then November of 22, I wrecked. I blew a steer tire. I wrecked the whole thing. And I took like $120,000 bath on the insurance. I didn't know if I was gonna go back into it. I was in what do you call it? Not rehab, but physical therapy for 3 months. Couldn't work. I mean,
Wow.
8th concussion. I was pretty jacked up from it. Didn't know if I was gonna go back into it. Decided to remortgage the house, which I was super close paying off. But I was like, you know what? We'll remortgage the house. Bought a John Deere skid loader again and a bigger dump truck, and then started over in the 23 season. And somehow we just really got into ponds. We bought a really big excavator. Well, not really. We bought a bigger excavator, run up to a 130, which we have found is really a great size for demolition, because it's big enough that you can take down 2-story building, small enough that you can get in into residential lot if you need to, or behind somebody's house. And then I hired some good people, and we really kicked it in the 23 season. Best year we'd ever had. Had the IRS kind of want to do an audit. I guess I've been audited every year. But they were like, how did you do 10 times as much business in 1 year? And I said, I don't know. We just went and did it. That's just the guys I got. They're willing to work, sun up, sundown, and just get done whatever we needed done. So then, we went into that. And then We did very well last year. Hopefully this year it's looking to be slower just with the way the economy is, but we're hoping to see a upturn a little bit. Um, and then yeah, no, July last year we came up with the idea for Send Trucks, which is that app I was telling you about, and that's basically it's Uber for dump trucks. And so then we've gotten to do a deep dive into all the companies around us. I think we've met with 150, 200 companies around here, from the demolition space, dirt space, uh, aggregate companies, mines and ready mix plants and stuff like that. We've really got to meet with a lot of people here in the state of Iowa, but then also we've gone to 4 or 5 other states for conferences or meetings or whatever, meeting with them for the same purpose. And we're starting to kind of get the word out about that. And so that journey started about July last year, launched it in June or January of this year, and we're just now kind of getting it out. And then yeah, now we're starting the 24 season, and shoot, we got some demos to do. Not too far out. They're 150-year-old brick buildings.
Mm,
We got another one down Des Moines to do. That's just it's a really old 100-some-year-old 2-story garage, but it's super tight. It's going to pretty much have to be dismantled by manpower. You can't get
okay.
anything. You can get a skid loader back there, and that's it.
Wow.
So yeah, and we specialize kind of in projects that a lot of people don't want to do or aren't willing to play the lottery on. So like right now, my guys are out digging out a old water tower pads. So like a 100-some-year-old water tower in this tiny little town, Jamaica. It's Jamaica, Iowa. It's this totally tiny little ratty town, and they had a water tower replaced, and a company got a hold of us because nobody knew how deep they were. They could be 25 feet in the ground, or they could be 4 feet in the ground,
Wow.
and nobody else wanted to do it. So we took that on, and then we had to dig down and cap the inlet and outlet pipes and some of that stuff. And come to find out, those pylons that they're sitting on, or the pads, they're 14,700 pounds a piece. So
Whew.
we're today's journey, when I'm done here, is we're going to go figure out how to get them loaded one at a time on a gooseneck trailer and hauled out, because we don't have anything big enough to pick it up and put it in a side dump, and nobody will let us put it in their side dump or anything like that, because they'll break the bottom of the box or whatever. So it's yeah, those weird one-off jobs that people are like, well, we don't have enough information to do this project. We'll say, hey, we'll come in and we'll do it. We bid them higher, but we found a good niche between the really big guys up here and the guy with skid loader and dump trailer here, and we have been able to operate in that like interim area at a really high capacity, because most of the projects we're doing, I mean, that job will be done in 2 days, is not worth
Mm,
a big GC's time or a big dirt guy's time to try and figure it out. But it's too much. You couldn't do it with just a mini hoe and a skid loader. So, we've those kind of projects, that was actually a pretty decent example of something that we've been able to take on that a lot of companies would either can't do it or just don't want to waste the time doing it because they have bigger and better projects to be in.
okay. Now, a lot of these projects, are you guys getting a call from those guys, or are you guys getting a call as the second or third estimate? How does that normally work?
That's a good question. That's so hard to say. A lot of times we are the first call because um, we've gotten some of the Google marketing figured out and this Facebook marketing figured out around here. So that if somebody's in our area, we're getting that call. We have created great
Okay.
relationships with a lot of the companies around us, so they know that we're willing to do some of those projects that they're not wanting to touch. And we pay a 5% kickback to anybody who gets us a project. 5% of the profit
Mm.
goes straight to them. Paid out like $35,000 or $45,000 last year to just random people that
Ooh,
don't work for us. Um,
wow.
and so, some of them are just cold, like basically a cold call. So I have a bunch of the grader operators in the counties around me. They're all out running the secondary roads anyway. I gave a bunch of them my card and I said, hey, drop a pin at any place you feel like there may be work. And if I get that job, I'll send you 5% in the mail, and that's all you had to do is drop a pin. Nobody's turning that down. I mean, one guy made $8,000 extra last year, just one guy,
Nice.
because he was able to provide us with enough, leads that we went out and sold. So yeah, it's a good mix. I don't really do a ton of advertising for Demolition. So I don't get much that way. We get some organic, over the phone. We get some GCs that have heard about us from somebody else. And hey, would you take this on? And like the job we're on now, they called me a year ago, and I didn't hear from them. I bid it. I didn't hear from them for 8 months. Then they called back, said, "Hey, we're running late on this project. Are you still wanting to do that?" And I was like, "I don't know. Contact me again when you're actually ready to go." They end up coming back, and it was like my company was totally different sized in a year. And so I said, I can't do it for $6,000 or whatever we bid it at. We ended up doubling or tripling the price, and they can't do anything about it because nobody else would do it. You know, It- and so yeah, it depends. We get a lot of variety in where our jobs come from. Sometimes it's just walking out the front door and going knocking on other people's doors, and sometimes it's, hey, we've called 4 other people and nobody will touch this, or nobody
Okay.
will want to do this. And we say, I tell everybody I'm a professional problem solver. I don't, you figure out a problem, we can do it. We've torn everything from hog buildings down and filled pits in and everything like that. And we've done, 5,000 square foot, 200-year-old brick houses in the middle of the city. So we kind of, a little bit of everything. Most of it, biggest thing for us is dealing with the DNR here. So many of the buildings we take down are old, and if they're, certain age, you have to go through a permitting process with the Iowa DNR because they're a historical landmark or some rule. And we didn't know that on one of our jobs. We got dinged on it, and that was like I don't know, $5,000 or $6,000 fine.
Oof. Okay. Well,
So
hey, it's a fee to know not to do it in the future, right? It's one of those
exactly,
mistakes. That's the
exactly,
cost you got to invest, and now you won't make that mistake in the future. So
absolutely,
that's cool.
yeah.
All right. So from the marketing side, you mentioned you do some stuff. The referrals, I've never heard of that as formally as you kind of mentioned it. That's super cool. Um, I like that. Any kind of tips or secrets that you could share, on how to do that for companies that haven't done it yet, or maybe they don't do it
Advertise
very
it.
well?
I mean,
Okay.
seriously, I
Okay.
mean, we are put when we meet. So like this afternoon, I meet with a land management company. They manage more farmland in the surrounding 3 states than any other company around us. I mean, they
Okay.
manage tens and tens of thousands of acres, probably over 100,000 acres, and
Wow.
they have the decision making power to decide who does the work. And so we were talking to them, and I just told the guy, so listen, we do 5% of profit on projects back to the person that got it to us. I don't want to come in and speak to your agents without talking to you and see if that's
Mm,
okay. Because some people, they don't want their agents doing that because that's people get kind of sleazy with it. If they work for
sure.
somebody else, they could be pocketing or whatever. But he was talking about, hey, can we take that 5% and just take it off the price for our customers and just show that, hey, that would have been paid to us, but we actually threw
Okay.
that back to you so that he can use it to prove value to his customers, you know?
Mm,
And so, but yeah, I mean, real estate agents love it. Sales guys love it. I got a sales guy that does the commission structure. That's what he does. He drives around and gets jobs, and now he's transitioned into selling the app, so it's different now. But last year he had a base salary. He had to sell up to his base salary and then commission, of commissions, and then anything over that he got 5%. Um, we're giving 5% to random people. I had a teenager last year that he got us a job with his cousin or something like that. We end up cutting him a $1,200 check. It doesn't mean a ton to us because we bid it into the price, you know, to give back
right.
to those people. But talk about being 16, some guy cuts you a $1,200 check for not doing anything. He's out looking for jobs for us for the rest of time.
Right.
I get calls.
Yeah.
A lot of his don't pan out because, well, probably quite honestly, he doesn't know what he's looking for. There's a lot of properties that need demoed, but the demographics not there. The people live there couldn't care less about demoing the barn if the siding's falling off their house.
Mm,
And so,
got it.
but he's out there just grinding the streets. When he's driving, he's looking, oh, hey, I wonder if that'd be a job. But we do it for trees, dirt work, demo, everything. And we bid it into the price. It really isn't, because if you think about it, if you had to spend 5% on your marketing,
Right.
you'd have it in the price. We're just paying it straight out as a cash kickback, and we can write it off as advertising.
Cool. Cool.
So
Super helpful.
I think,
Huh.
yeah, if people get behind it because you're providing a value back to them, why wouldn't they sell you? They may know somebody else that does that kind of service, but are they going to get a couple $100 out of it? Probably not. And we do have a lot of people that turn it down. We have a lot of people. We had one lady last year that she just didn't want it. She asked if we could donate it to a charity. Just
Oh.
different. I mean, a lot of people are saying, hey, we really enjoyed your service and we appreciated you guys coming out and doing the job you did. Can don't you have no need to pay us nice. A lot of times we try and pay. I'm not gonna say no to keeping any extra money, right? It's just profit.
Hmm. Right. Okay. And then the Google stuff and Facebook stuff, how did you guys master that? Did you get with an agency? You do it in-house? You watch some videos?
I literally got on YouTube, watched a couple videos on how their advertising structure works, and then I just went into our settings and started changing stuff to hit the demographics we wanted to hit. And
Okay.
our first ad out, I bought a drone. I think it's a $400 DJI drone.
Okay.
And I'm not great flying it, but if you look into any of our content, you'll see a bunch of drone footage that looks super high quality. I shot all of that from that drone. I edited it all on my iPhone and I put it out.
Hmm.
I'm talking to you on a computer that I don't use, like I've never used for making a video. And it's a
Wow.
stupid expensive Mac computer that is we bought for editing video. But with the short form stuff, we don't do anything on YouTube yet, just because it does take so much time that not really anybody
Hmm.
has here. But the short form stuff is so fast. Take off the drone because the drone plugs into the phone, so it goes straight to the phone, and I just take the content off of it, cut it up a little bit, send it out, and with that really elevated our advertising. It makes you look 10 times bigger than you actually are because you're able to
Hmm.
shoot the big job sites and whatever else. And so we bought that drone and then we made an ad targeted to the kind of market we wanted to. And we went through like $1,000 at it for our first ad. And we ended up with we ended up with 4 jobs that were 150, 200 grand total.
Wow.
But indirectly, I think we're well over the 300,000 mark on the one ad. But
That's incredible.
on the other hand, we threw, call it $4,000 more in ads that whole summer, and we probably made just the $4,000 back on those ads. So I equate it a
Okay.
lot to playing a slot machine. You know,
Hmm.
eventually, if you put enough money in it, but even if one job pays out, it was worth sitting there pressing the button all night. You know,
Right.
so if for us that one paid for all the ads last summer, this year we're going to have to probably invest some. Our problem this year is everybody in the municipal jobs is so slow that they're starting to
Hmm.
creep into our space. We have somebody that we do a ton of farm work. We do right 80% of our works for farmers.
Okay.
And one of the things that we got beat out on a waterway job, grading a waterway, because another company came in and did it for like $85 an hour. And
Hmm.
it's like, we can't compete with that with the equipment we got, but they were just trying to keep a guy busy and a dozer busy. They
Right.
could care less if they're not even trying to make anything. They're just trying to keep the guy paid. And so, yeah, that's going to be a struggle this year with everybody. With the economy the way it is, people are kind of backing off of spending huge amounts of money. Um, Ponds really slowed down. We did 7 ponds in 2 states last year because we also have
Okay.
farm stuff going on in Kansas. So I go down there and we do some dirt work down there, demo projects, trees down there as well. And so Yeah, we did 2 ponds down there last year, and we did 5 up here. That kept us busy all summer. Finished the last one
Mm.
New Year's Day, and then yeah, this year we've only got one booked and one pending, but people are a lot less apprehensive. They're apprehensive to spend $40 to $100,000 on a pond if they are having a hard time at the gas pump or groceries or whatever it is. It's a hard sell. Or hey, we'd love to have that barn taken down, but we can't afford another 20 grand to do it this year.
Mm. Makes sense. Yeah, it's fair. I'd love to kind of jump into some of the wisdom, in our pre-interview, you were talking about the big dogs, these two behemoth companies. So let's kind of break that down. What do you mm, what have you learned from the big behemoths? What's something you guys can implement for a company of your size, or even a company, who's not the behemoth? What do you see there that you look up to, or that you think's really smart that they're doing?
Market dominance, working with your competition and not against them. They know they're the only 2 companies in town competing with each other. And I'm not convinced they're not calling each other and saying, hey, you can have this one. You bid at this, I'll bid at this. I don't know that for a fact, but they do everything. And they will squeeze, when you start bidding on those projects, they will literally, it's a fight. We try to stay out of the municipal jobs around here literally because they will call the DNR on you for no reason.
Wow. Okay.
If one of their guys drive by and they bid a job and they didn't get it, they're going to cause a problem. They're going to call the DOT and say that your trucks are coming out overweight. They're going to call the DNR and say that, hey, we think there might be asbestos in that kind of stuff,
Oof.
because you're like in their territory. That's down,
Wow.
and so it's get pretty cutthroat. And so it's whether or not it's like a dog eat dog world. Are you gonna stand up and fight and do these jobs and keep doing them, knowing that you're not gonna make a ton of profit? Because they'll squeeze you. I mean, if they see that a little guy's bidding, they will bid it to either break even or lose money just to make sure he doesn't do that job.
Jeez.
So it's
Okay.
if you can get in on the private stuff to begin with, that's definitely the way to go. As far as small company, I think there'd be a lot of success. A guy, if you could get a tandem axle dump truck, and I've said this multiple times, if I had to start over, I'd buy a tandem axle dump truck, 20, 30 grand. Old, doesn't need to be nice. Uh, Tag trailer, a 325 deer skid loader with grapple and all the attachments you'd want for doing, bucket, that kind of stuff, and like a 60G excavator. That's what I kind of got
Mm.
started with, and we really took off when we got that size, and we could you can do everything. It just might take you longer. I mean, other than you're not digging a pond with that little equipment. You can,
Right.
it's just take a really long time. It's not cost effective, but you could do just about any job, from graveling a driveway to tearing their shed down, cleaning it all up yourself, tearing a lot of
Mm.
concrete out with that setup, which that's the big thing around here. And I really like it. A lot of people can't stand tearing concrete out. It's really hard on stuff. I would prefer that over buildings because it's predictable. Um, but yeah, one of the things, I guess, going back to your question, I've learned from them is understand the market you're in and find the other guys that are in that and work with them and build your community with
Mm.
those guys, knowing that, hey, we're in competition, but we'd rather be in competition with each other than 500 other guys that are also trying to bid this. They've really locked it down to where you're not entering it is not an easy job. Um, and it's expensive. So you want to make sure that you have, and they're willing to go in and say, hey, we'll do it for, a little more money to these different municipalities on smaller cities and stuff. And they'll talk to them, say, hey, but we're willing to get paid 90 days, 160 days away. So that
Mm.
also,
Got it.
and the municipal jobs in general really weed out a lot of small companies because they can't wait 90 days to get paid. They've put out thousands of
Right.
dollars to do a job and they can't wait 90 days to get paid, or 10% withholdings on those jobs. Really, those companies have been in business for 20 years. Probably every month of the year of any given year, they're getting withholding checks from years ago. We did a job,
Right.
sewer job. Oh, this would have been 22, I think. And that job's not done until 2025, November of 2025. So you could say it's
Oof.
100 and, call it a $200,000 job. I got 20 grand floating out there that I can't even think about having till 25. And I know if I don't call that general in 2025, I'm not going to get the money. If he thinks we forgot about it, he ain't
Wow.
going to pay it.
Right.
And so, I got
Crazy.
reminders set in my phone for jobs that I know that the job was scheduled to be done on this date and I need to get my withholding check. And so,
Mm,
these bigger companies, it's a lot easier to float by because they've been in business this long and they're getting checks
right.
all the way through here. Whereas a small company, you do a job, you don't get paid, you get 90% payment 90 days in, and you wait how many years for the project to be done, or if the project gets put on hold, or somebody doesn't pay their bills. Literally, you could be the first guy in, do the demo, somebody else comes in, does site prep, somebody else comes in, pours concrete, somebody else comes in, builds building, everything's done, and there's a problem with the plumbing at the end, and that project won't get
Right.
signed off on, and you cannot be paid until that's all complete.
Crazy. Crazy. It's so weird how that just operates. I understand why. I totally understand why. Like not too long ago, a bunch of finance bros went in and said, how can we keep as much money to ourselves and ensure a guarantee that we get to the end of this thing and money starts to recoup for ourselves? Because, like, honestly, you look at it and you're like, that's not fair. You guys did your job. What's
Yeah.
what's the need for you guys to get pinned by something that's plumbing years later? Like, come on.
Well, and it's if I think about it this way, I just loan them. If it's $100,000 job, I just loan
Mm-hmm.
them $100,000 for 90 days and didn't make any interest on it.
Sure.
So even if in the bank I'd have made 3-4% on my 100 grand in the
Right.
same, in 90 days I'd make more than that. So yeah, call it. I lost out on $4,000 or $5,000 in interest over that amount of time because I
Mm,
did the work and then I didn't get paid for it 90 days. Now, if you tell me, okay, it's a $100,000 job, but we got 90 of it, good. That other 10%'s out there, $1,000 does in the stock market for 10 years, or even just in, you know, any savings account that's making minute amount of interest. They're loaning money from their contractors on the project until it's complete. And so that I can't
yeah.
stand it. And that's why we try to stay out of those jobs, because that's the government is
Right.
leveraging you and your services at no interest. But if you
Mm,
go out and you take, I pay taxes on everything. And if I'm late on my tax bill, I'll get fined or potentially jail
yeah.
time. But if they're late on
Right.
their payment, there's nothing we can do about it. And it says in all the contracts, you can't charge you can charge the general contractor interest, but most general contractors have clauses and stuff that don't allow that for late payment. It's paid when paid. When they get paid from the government pays them, they pay you. So
Mm,
they have you can't and they can't charge the interest to the government. But if they are over budget or they're over schedule, the government can charge them for being not having the project done on time. So
right.
yeah, it's kind of a
Man.
racket. You're definitely right. There's a lot of people in Washington and all over the country that got together and said, how can we make this? How can we get this leverage to our advantage and still get people to want to do the work?
Yeah, that's fair. Just make them fight over it. Yeah, it's funny. You're fighting and hoping you get this squeeze almost in a way. Like you want the job, but you gotta get through to get the job, and then you get squeezed once you get the
And
job. So it's like a
not only
weird
that, but you're fighting to the bottom. You're fighting to the cheapest bid.
yes.
And
Right.
that's the other thing on these projects. It's not our fault if we get a crappy engineer or we get, because it's all low bid. And once they're in, they can't fire you. You know, the
Mm,
G if you're a sub, your GC can fire you. But like all the stuff that's locked in place, that was contract. They took the lowest bid, and that's who they got.
Right.
And so I
Crazy.
mean, we have had some stupid people on jobs. You know, the
Mm.
guy tell me we were digging stumps out of a creek bed. Guy, engineering degree, fresh out of college, older than I am, came out and he was telling, "Hey, we really need to keep dirt in the water to a minimum." Okay, that's fine. Then I'm pulling stumps out. When you pull a stump out, dirt falls off. There's no way around it. And then I'm
Mhm.
swinging them straight. I'm not shaking them. I'm swinging them straight over and setting them on the bank. And he came out, stopped me, and actually told me, "Hey, we need to stop doing that. We need to find a different way to get these stumps out." And I said, "Well, I'm basically a kid. I'm not a genius at this, but if you know a better way to pull a stump out of the bank with a 60,000-pound excavator, let me know." And he's like, "Well, I don't know how. I'm just saying you need to figure it out because we can't be getting this much dirt in the water." I got out. I said, "Well, how about you get in there and show me then?" "Well, I don't know how to run it." And I was like, "Okay." I kind of got on him. I just, all right, then shut up and get out of here. Go find something else to do,
Right.
you know? And he got mad. He said something to the general, and general asked me. I told him. He goes, "He actually said that, like real life? He was serious?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, that's stupid." And he brought it up in a mid construction meeting, and like the city grounds guys were there. Everybody in this room is looking at him like, "You're kidding, right? You're not actually serious about that." And he was just, it's like, he's never been in the field. This is his first assignment.
Mm.
And then, we'd try to get a hold of him and he'd say, "Well, we only had 5 hours allotted for this job this week as the inspector or as the engineer. And so you're overtime." So like he would just not answer the phone. So you'd get Friday
Wow.
and you need signed off so you can go home. You could, so they make sure there's no dirt on the road or whatever, and he's not there because they're the low bid and they only allotted this much time. The inspector's not there and we just have to deal with it. So then we're just sitting with nothing. Like my guys can't continue the next phase until the phase has been completed. And so we waste
Mm.
a day and a half just waiting for this guy to come back the next morning. It's just nuts. And it's all because it's low bid. Whoever gets,
Right.
nobody's trying to put any extra work because they're trying to do as little as possible to get the most amount of money out of their bid. And that's
Mm.
why that's
Okay.
why projects take so long, is everybody's trying to cut a corner and not get caught.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to, you know, do all these different things to save a buck because they were the lowest bid. So any amount
Mm.
of money you can save, which that's played to our advantage with the app, because if you get a project for 100,000 ton of rock on a parking lot and it's 12 ton delivery is $12 a ton, you could post it on my app for 11, and there's plenty of truckers out there that are not there. We check their DOT certification every night, and then their insurance every 30 days. They have to carry like Davis Bacon level insurance, anything you need to work an interstate project. There's guys out there that 100% do it for way less than the big guys. And so you
Mm.
just saved 100 grand by making a post instead of just going with the number that was bid. So
Right.
we found a way to exploit that low bid niche, but it's a bad system. And what was interesting is the town we did that project in, there was 3 companies that could have done what we did in town, and their money would have stayed in the community. But the dirt works company that hired us is from around here, an hour away. We're from an hour away. The plumbing company was from an hour away. None of their money stayed in their community, because at least if
Mm.
they would have hired the guy, he might have been a hair more expensive, or if they make it easy enough to bid and give some sort of kickback for if you're in town, if you're a company that lives there, that money, let's say he made 500 grand on that job, and after expenses he walked away with 100 grand. He would have spent that in the town he lives in, whether it's buying property, buying equipment, you know, paying for the soccer team, sponsoring a soccer or softball team or whatever, whatever it is. He lives there. That's where the money goes. And people don't think about that, especially in the government stuff, as ways that they can invest back into their community. They're okay with somebody coming for $5,000 cheaper. We can have somebody come from an hour away and do this job, and
Interesting.
none of
Interesting.
the money
Interesting.
stays home.
Right.
So
Super short-sighted. Huh. Okay. Well, time-wise, we're gonna make sure you could shout yourself out. We're gonna wrap up the podcast in just a minute, but do you have any other quick takeaways? Anything else, some golden nuggets that you care to share with the audience? Maybe here's a good one that I like to do. 3 things, could be 4, could be 2, what have you, that you know now that you wish you knew when you started this journey.
Oh, that's easy. Check into your permits and regulations. I mean, that's one thing about you always call in before you dig. Customer service, walking the customer through, explaining to them the process in which you're going to take a building down doesn't seem like a big thing to you because it's like, oh, this is what we do every day. It's not a huge deal. But just explaining that to them gives them peace of mind and keeping them involved in the decisions and stuff. Like, even if you really could care less what their opinion is, it makes them feel involved.
Mm.
Big fan of, and anybody that's in marketing is going to know this. If you can make somebody feel like they're getting a deal, they're getting a deal, and they'll hire. Hey, we're in the area. That's a big sell. You're trying to sell jobs. Say, hey, I'm working down the road at your neighbor's house, or I'm just Hey, we're in the area. We're doing a couple jobs around here. Notice this. I got the equipment sitting here. We can do it for cheaper than if we would have had to come in. It's a value add. Is there a little bit of a white lie? Maybe. Are you actually doing work there? I don't know, but they don't know either. You know, but it makes them feel like put a sense of urgency on the sale so that they understand
Right.
that there's, oh, I could get a deal here for just, you just come do this building even because you're around and it's going to be less. And people feel like more obligated to do that project right now instead of waiting. And then making sure that if you're getting busy, instead of turning work down, try and book it out farther. People are willing to wait
Okay.
for a good service, or say, hey, I'm this price right now, but if I can do it in December or January, weather dependent, I'll do it for this. I'll do it for 10% less,
Wow. Okay.
because a lot of people are willing to wait, if and save a little money. Again, if they feel like they're getting a big value add, that says, hey, I'm going to get 10% off, or I've looked at it for 20 years. What's another 6 months? But that also provides you work down the line, where a lot of guys just say, no, I'm too busy. I can't get there for 2 months. And so I'm just not going to do it. Well, 2 months comes to an end, or they're done with the work and they're going, I wonder if that building ever got taken down. I don't have, you shouldn't
Mm.
have that. If you can book it in there, you'll know when you're talking to a customer if they're willing to wait. Or if you have a hesitant customer, put them on the schedule for 4 months away.
Okay.
And most of the time they're like, well, if I decide not to do it at that time, I'll let you know, before you get here or whatever. But say, hey, if it's July, we're going to be here in December we're going to try and shooting for the month, December 15th, some random arbitrary number that you're not actually planning on being there for. But
Mm.
just say, hey, this is when we're planning on being here. It gives them 4 months to think about it. And more often than not, they'll probably just do it. Don't let those leads go. And that would be and work 40 hours a week is for people that don't want to like make any money and they don't want to be successful. And you can, when you're 60 or you're 40 or whatever, and you've made it, you can maintain a lifestyle at 40 hours a week, but you can't build one
Mm.
on 40 hours a week. I mean, you can ask my wife, there is so much time that I am gone now, and I have to have it pay off. Otherwise, all I'm doing is robbing my kids and her, and
Mm.
not making it pay off. So not only do I have to make it work on that end, but you got to put in the hours. There's no replacement for it. You have to be able to go out there, be willing to put in 80, 90 hours a week for a while to get to where you can be home at night for dinner or on the weekends. I mean, just last year is the first time I've ever just had weekend, like a Saturday. Most Saturdays I'm home. But
Wow.
now that I'm doing the app, now I'm gone every weekend. I've been to,
Wow.
you know, 10 states, 10, 12 states since January, and I mean, last night I'm kind of tired. My eyes are kind of baggy. I got back from Kansas Sunday night. We went to some events after I got back, and then I was here until noon yesterday. I left for Illinois, went to Illinois, picked up a truck, and was back at 4 a.m. last night. Then I'm done with you here. I have check on the guys, have a meeting, and potentially I'm going to Omaha tomorrow morning. So we're out being busy all the time, and I'm trying to put those hours in now so that it's not gonna affect my life when I'm 40. I don't want to have to be working 80, 90 hours a week when I'm 40, 50 years old. I want to get it done when I'm 20 to 30 when I have the energy and spend that time with my kids when they're older and be able to go do those things. But yeah, it's not, no matter how you shake it, you're not going to get ahead working 40, probably even 50 hours a week, because that's what everybody else does. If you want to be exceptional, you got to put in exceptional effort.
Right, and front load it. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're front loading the life.
Well,
I get it. I do the same thing.
A lot of guys are trying, the younger guys are looking at, watching your podcast or watching all these different media outlets for the trades, and they're trying to figure out what they want to do. Do it. Just do it. What do you have to lose? You're 18. You own nothing. You're worth nothing. You have nothing to lose. Oh, you tried it and you failed. Even now, I could go bankrupt today, and in 3 years have a credit score back up, and I can just go work for somebody else. Like, I have all this stuff now, and if I lost it, I'd be kind of like sad for a while, like kinda, but I'm not too terribly worried about it because I know I can replicate again. If you've done it once, you can do it again. If you just keep that. And I think the last thing I'd say is the people around you got to be, you are who you hang out with, hands down. Go find those older guys that are in the industry. Most of them, their kids don't want anything to do with it because they attribute the business to their dad being gone all the time. They want nothing to do with that. So go talk to these older guys. Most of these older guys are willing to literally hand you the box of information and let you go to work because they want to see that in our generation of people, and are willing to, basically shell the information out for nothing because they're seeing a decline in interest, from their and then also, why not? They have the experience, and if they say do it that way, just do it that way. I'm not smartest. I'm not any smarter than anybody else my age. I just know a lot of older guys that are smarter than me, and I just go ask them about it, And so I think those would be my three main things: is just get after it, talk to people that actually know what they're doing, talk to people that know more than you, and make sure your circle of those people is positive and pushing you forward, and not just telling you, must be nice to have all that stuff, or not just being negative about you working all the time or whatever, because it's not going to help. It's just, it change. You got to be 110% mentally, or you're not going to make it.
Yeah, you'll get eaten alive. Well, dude, this has been amazing. You and I are going to stay on the line. If you could just share with the audience how to find you, like a website, phone number, those sorts of things. How can people find you guys?
So we're on TikTok. That's Elisha Haan. It's Elisha Haan, and obviously just look that up on TikTok. Facebook, it's Haan Services, HAAN Services. That's what it is online. For our website. Basically everything else that's not just our TikTok, because I kind of got lazy and just made my personal TikTok the business page. But if you want to check out our Facebook stuff, we are going to be coming out with a lot of media here shortly. If you're interested in that truck app where you can get signed up to either be a trucker and make some money off of it, or you're like, hey, I'd like to boost this network out and for the contractors around me and have some sort of dealer style sponsorship, that's sendtrucks.com, and it's spelled exactly how it sounds, SEND trucks and .com. And it'd be worth looking into. Anybody in this dirt construction industry, from a GC to a demo guy, should be able to find value in that app. And so, yeah, if you have any questions for me or anything, you can get a hold of me on any of those social media outlets. So it was awesome being on this podcast. I'm gonna enjoy listening to many more from you, and I think you're providing a great value add to this community that's not there. You're working on the younger generation of guys, my age and younger that are getting into this, and that's who's going to be running this industry, 20 years from now. And a lot of them are going to be able to look back to say, hey, I was listening to this podcast, and you just really encouraged me to just do it, stuff like that. So I think it's great what you're doing on here, and appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you guys and the wisdom and just being open. So yeah, thank you to you. Thank you to all of our listeners. And yeah, you and I are going to stay on the line. We got just a few quick minutes. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. And it's been another awesome episode of Demolition Success Secrets. See you guys.
Absolutely.
That's a wrap for this episode of Demolition Success Secrets. Stay tuned and subscribe for more explosive insights from our upcoming episodes. Until then, continue to blow up your demolition business and make the competition rubble in your path.